This program is made possible by 46% of non-retirees believe they can't afford to retire. American Senior Benefits agents help retirees find solutions aiding your journey to retirement and financial security. More at wichita.americanseniorbenefits.com. Moving can be stressful. Whether your move is local or long distance, Two Men in a Truck can help. More at twomen.com.
Are you a wartime veteran ages 73 to 85? Did you know there are new rules that may affect your pension? Don't lose out on benefits you deserve. Our team serves you because you served us. Contact Long-Term Care for Veterans today.
Holidays are often a catalyst for change. Thank you for tuning in to Empowering Seniors. I'm Katherine Ambrose, and I'm with Jack Silvers today at Park Lane Towers. I am so excited to be here. I grew up very close to here, and I hadn't been in the building until just recently, and so it's a thrill to be filming this for the audience because I think a lot of people are curious about Park Lane Towers. So when was Park Lane Towers built?
62, 63, 64, somewhere in there.
What can you share with us about the history of Park Lane Towers?
Willard Garvey basically built this building so that his mother would have a place to live, Olive Ann Garvey. It was built to provide every comfort for people. There was a whole lot of money here.
So tell us about the pampering. What are we missing out on if we don't live in Park Lane Towers?
It's a fairly secure building. You have to use a fob or something like that to get in. There's a door person, there's valet parking, even the trash, there's a trash closet on every floor, so you don't even have to take your trash out. It's pretty amazing. There's a house phone in every apartment.
Okay.
If I want my car brought around, I just pick it up and say, "This is Jack, please bring my car around." My car's sitting there, I don't have to scrape the windows. If I bring up my groceries myself, and there's a grocery cart in the lobby, I just have to call and say, "This is Jack Silvers, will you come and get the grocery cart out of my lobby?" They will take care of minor things. For some of the old people, I think they even change light bulbs.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So I know that sometimes this building can be for any age.
Absolutely.
And you have some 30-year-olds living in here?
I think there are about 5 people who are in their 30s.
That is so cool. So real mix of ages.
Yes.
And then for seniors, I know they must love it because they just feel so secure. You have the doorman 24 hours a day, 2 levels of indoor parking.
It's absolutely so quiet that I tend to stay home and not go anywhere because it's so quiet. I love it. But also for the older people, if they have mobility issues, there are no steps for ingress or egress in the whole building. None.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you can take the elevator to your level if you're not on the first floor and just have no steps anywhere at all.
Correct.
That's fantastic. And I understand there's quite a lot of social opportunities within the building. A lot of people make friends and play games.
I know that there is a hosted dominoes game. I think that there's one that is Tripoli or some other game like that. There also is I think Wednesday morning coffee. There's what they call a fireside chat where everybody gets together and talks. They have seasonal parties. They have a Christmas party. In the summer, there's a barbecue where everybody gets together and just sits around. They barbecue hamburgers and hot dogs, and everybody brings side dishes.
And what about transportation? Do they ride together sometimes to different places, or?
Absolutely. In fact, there's a monthly brunch, I guess, or lunch, and people ride together for that.
And I know a couple of the ladies were talking about arranging rides maybe to come to our Empowered Senior seminar once a month at Botanica, which would be a very fun activity because they get to go through the botanical gardens for free. And this year we're going to have some field trips where village travel or the new city electric buses are going to take us around to go tour different buildings. In fact, we're going to be sure to put your building on tour. And I say your
Good.
building because you live here.
Yes.
And you've listed many of the homes in here. And so you've been a great source of information. So
Thank you.
how long have you kind of been working in the building?
I'm not sure. I think probably 15 years.
Okay.
But I moved here just over 4 years ago.
You were telling me that there are 3 other co-op buildings. What's a co-op?
A co-op, you're not buying real estate. You're buying stock in the corporation,
Okay.
which allows you to live in that apartment. So it's a stock purchase.
Okay.
The other co-ops in Wichita, or cooperatives, are the Hillcrest, which is well known by everybody.
Beautiful College
Yes.
Hill.
There's also Hilltop, which is housing that was built in 1945 at the end of the war.
Okay.
Harry Truman came here for the opening of Hilltop.
And you said it's only $35 for closing because it's just something simple you do here in the building. And so that's simple. But we do have some interesting buildings here in Wichita. And so I think that'd be fun to get people out to tour them. And then, of course, featuring them on the program so that people can see what these buildings look like inside. I suppose you hear from a lot of people that are curious about them that have always wondered what it was like inside.
All the time. I have people ask me or say to me that they've wondered about the building since they were children, and now they know somebody who's here.
And so a lot of the apartments, they have taken part of the balcony or the patio and turned it into an additional room or sunroom.
Yes.
And then I saw one apartment that has a big patio still. And are there some units that still have the balconies, or are they have most of them been turned into the sunrooms?
Every apartment has a small balcony.
Okay.
There's only one that has not been converted into a sunroom. That still has a patio that's on the first floor. But all the rest of them have a sunroom and then the smaller balconies. There are closets in your bedrooms that buffer the sound from the next apartment. There are brick walls between the bathrooms and the kitchens to buffer that sound.
So
It's just very quiet. Yes.
Smart planning.
Yeah. One other thing I might mention, I'm told that there's 2.5 feet of concrete between each floor, and you hardly hear anything.
And you have 2 elevators in the building.
Yes.
And so that makes it really easy for people to not be waiting, and then having the valet service where you can actually have your valet bring your groceries up for you. So that just makes it really nice.
It's easy.
Yeah, easy living, kind of
Yes.
a lock and leave lifestyle. So you can lock up your apartment, leave, travel.
That's
and
one of the reasons I moved here is I love to travel, and I didn't want to have to worry about my house. Here, you don't have to lock your door because there's a 24-hour doorman
that's
or door
amazing.
person.
Okay, very good. And I think sometimes people wait until they're a little older to do as much traveling as what they intended to do. And so living in a patio home or an apartment like this is really nice. So you've got your home base, but yet you can come and go as you please.
And you don't worry about deductibles for a new roof
Right.
or paying the lawn person.
Yes. And well, I think that's why a lot of seniors exit the real estate market. They sell their homes because they're tired of dealing with unexpected deferred maintenance items or just unexpected things that occur, and then having to manage through insurance or manage with the contractors. And so just simplifying and just getting to where you can enjoy life and get that weight off of you.
It's a good option instead of an assisted living thing. But also, there are college students here.
Yeah. So this is just an apartment living, just a great lifestyle living. This is before someone would need independent living or assisted living or skilled or memory care, or someone might downsize into an apartment like this and have a loved one in memory care or assisted living. And I think that people like to downsize together if they can, so that they're working through that process and minimizing their belongings and kind of getting things settled and getting that simpler lifestyle involved. And this would be a great downsizing option here. And, that kind of in-betweener space for people before they might need something more that provides more services.
We have one resident who's 100 years old.
That's awesome.
Yes, and she lives alone. She's fine.
That's great. Well, and it probably helps her to be in kind of a social environment and have friends built in and have these extra little services available.
We had a birthday party for her, and probably 40 or 50 people showed up.
How fun is that? Really fun for everybody, and I bet she felt special. And you mentioned to me that she had said she hadn't had a birthday party before.
Correct. This was her first one.
I think to live in a multi-generational hip building like this might be a great way to age in place, and just smart, pampered living. And then if someone needs something that provides more services or for their loved ones, there's independent living, assisted living, skilled, and even memory care. And we're going to visit with Rana at Rosewood Cottage. She has a phenomenal memory care option here in Northeast Wichita. Holidays often become a catalyst for change. Today I'm at Rosewood Cottage with Rana, one of the owners. And Rana, you own this beautiful home with your brother, I understand. And the word out there within the senior healthcare industry is so phenomenal. I had to see it for myself. So thank you so much for having us here so that we could visit with you about the holidays and about what you have going on here at Rosewood.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction and for the kind words about what the community is saying about Rosewood. We're very excited to have you here, and we do specialize in assisted living and memory care. So around the holiday season, sometimes when families come to visit and reconvene and have reunions, it's oftentimes when they start to notice a change in mom or dad, or any loved one. And so that's kind of when we see that we start getting called or start getting pulled into conversations. So it is a really important topic to bring up, especially around the holiday season, and just to be aware of the potential red flags and what to look for, and just make sure that your loved one is really in the best place for them to be.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of our senior audience, they're often looking out for a brother or sister or loved one. And it could actually be anyone of any age. And the Home Plus concept is so unique to Kansas. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, it really is a great concept. It's kind of it's a newer approach, and it's an alternative approach to your traditional institutional care. And so you're seeing more and more popping up because they're just so great, and it's kind of the direction that everyone is moving in, where you see a big home with more staff to resident ratio and more of a comforting environment, less confusion, less institutionalized policies, just a really comforting approach.
Well, the front of the home is so welcoming, just so inviting and beautiful. I think anyone would love to live here, and it's just such a cozy, awesome environment, and I know that has to be very comforting. So tell us a little bit about why it's important in memory care for the resident to really feel at home and not feel that they are in an institution or facility.
Well, it's definitely important for everyone, but especially with our loved ones, our residents who have dementia or Alzheimer's or any other memory care issue, but to just be in a more one-on-one environment. And so the Home Plus environment really allows for that flexibility where, it could be harder for our other partners in the community to be able to provide that one-on-one kind of approach to care. So you're seeing a more individualized approach to care, individualized care plans, more focus on the activities that are one-on-one rather than group, because you do have that flexibility here. Additionally, it's smaller. It's less opportunity to physically get lost, mentally get lost, to get confused with halls and different doors and turns and whatnot. Additionally, being able to kind of continue with the same people every day and having that continuity of care becomes much simpler.
I know with seniors and with families in general, people really worry about losing their memory. And what are some of the red flags that go beyond just kind of the normal versus really starting to recognize that something's going on?
Sure, that's a great question. It's really kind of a fine line, with aging, but really confusion is not part of the normal aging process. And so one of the biggest red flags is confusion. So if you notice that your family member is seeming to be more confused about really simple things that they maybe weren't previously confused about, maybe they are asking the same questions repetitively, and they're questions that you thought they knew the answers to previously. That could be a sign. And just really in general, keeping an eye out for confusion.
Okay. And I understand with dementia, I've gone through some recent training myself as a dementia professional, and I know that there is also a coping mechanism that sometimes people have where as long as they're staying within a certain subject, they're able to track fine. And when you get kind of outside of a certain area of conversation, that maybe things start seeming a little more off.
That's a really good point, and that kind of ties right into asking repetitive questions because they're very comfortable with doing something, and then they repeatedly want to do this thing. Or maybe they are very familiar with one meal and they repeatedly want to eat that same thing, maybe for multiple meals a day. Or if they're very comfortable talking about a certain piece of history, maybe they continue to bring that up as the subject of discussion. So something we can kind of tie into with that with the holidays is everyone has their traditions, their family traditions around this time of year, which is great. But just keeping in mind that your loved one who might be developing an illness or progressing in their own illness around memory might not perceive these family traditions as they used to perceive them. So being flexible and potentially changing these traditions, changing the dynamics up a little bit at your family event, and just keeping everything kind of at an easy pace, not so fast, not so strict and stressful.
Well, you touched on something that I really wanted to talk about too, and that is for any of us, the holidays are meant to be fun and enjoyable, and there's a lot of pressure. There can be a lot of stress. And as we age, we might start thinking about simplifying traditions and also being accepting and open to new traditions just to make things a little bit easier and to just focus on maybe togetherness and not keeping everything just so rigid.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not so critical to continue your family traditions if your loved one is no longer enjoying the family tradition. So maybe just being open to adding new traditions to the family holidays. Maybe having an activity where grandchildren or just loved ones make cards for the holidays. And if they do have a loved one who is living in independent living, assisted, or anything of the sort, or even still at home, them being able to put that in their living space and see it and enjoy it for the rest of the year. And maybe adding in things like walks where there's Christmas lights, bundling up and going out as a family, but just making sure to do it slowly and allow time for rest. That would be really important.
That's really great advice. And again, just for all of our empowering senior audience, we love to talk about memory jars and documenting and writing memories that you might have about any particular family members or events, and making sure to gather those clues up for people that maybe aren't listening or prepared right now to hear some of those stories. Write them down so that you're leaving that for people to enjoy.
Really, I think the main thing with your seniors, with your loved ones, is to just, remember the reason for the season, as cheesy as that might sound, but, just to show gratitude, appreciation, and love for one another, and not to get so stressed out about the minute details, the dinner party, the stockings, the presents, but just really spending time together.
Absolutely.
And being very observant of your loved ones and just really knowing what's going on with them.
Maybe not just so concerned about exactly eating at noon or whatever time it might be and having everything be so perfect, but just really appreciating the time together.
Absolutely.
Rana, what would be your advice for people that are just have some trepidation and fear about admitting that things just aren't quite the same and that it might be time to explore getting help?
Sure, that's a great question. It's a really, really kind of sensitive process, but it's important to keep in mind the focus of your loved one needs to be in the best place for them. And so I would really recommend kind of just working through the trepidation and the guilt and the fear and just asking yourself what would be better for your loved one. You know, if your loved one is starting to have repeat falls or repeat hospitalizations, they're having trouble managing their medications, it would be much better for your loved one to be in a place, in a community where they can get the attention that they need. And, you know, that doesn't mean that they're no longer going to be seeing their family. Your families come and visit every day, and they take them for holidays, outings, everything. Families are still very involved, but that one-on-one care, the medical and emotional attention, your loved one needs to be in the right place.
And 24-hour care.
Absolutely.
And you have protocols in place to keep your residents safe.
Oh, yes. We've got all sorts of policies and procedures for safety and the 24-hour nursing care. So all of that stuff is, you know, not something that your family member would be getting at home. So just keeping that in mind.
Well, and I know so many people have guilt and they, remember their loved ones saying, I don't want to move. I just want to stay home. I'd like the family to take care of me. And sometimes that just isn't possible. Or when people do their due diligence and educate themselves, they may find that that isn't the best thing for the loved one. And sometimes they had limited information when they were making that request.
That's right. And, you know, it's really on us as a community to end the stigma around, one, dementia, and two, around, you know, moving into a community, because when a senior moves into a community, they're actually getting back a sense of community because of everything that's going on in that community. The other seniors who live in that community, they can make friends. They're really just starting a new chapter in their life.
Well, that's a nice way to put it. And I think that's what we all want, is a new chapter and a fresh start. And, trying to have something to look forward to.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think being in a home environment like this, letting the family come in and visit. Yeah.
That's really, really important. Not just for the family, but for the senior. They really need to still see the family all the time, and mixing in the intergenerational community integration is very important for them as well.
Very good. So, this has been awesome coming here, and I know that you'd be easy to reach here at Rosewood Cottage if people have questions.
Yes, absolutely. We have our website, therosewoodcottage.com. We've also got a Facebook page and an Instagram, and anyone who has questions about their loved one or anything, even if they're not ready to look, it's always best to kind of do your research before it's too late or before you're in a crunch. We're happy to help out.
That is huge. To do some due diligence ahead of time and not wait until something is an emergency, and just have a plan for the future if at all possible, and kind of just have an idea just in case we might need memory care. Let's go visit some of the memory care places and get an education on what's available. I think that's really great advice.
Yes, knowing your options and, seeing what your family member is comfortable with, is comfortable being around, and that's really important.
And you are licensed to do assisted living in addition to memory care, and this would be a great environment for assisted living. So
it would, yeah.
Can you tell us the difference between assisted living and memory care?
That's a good question. Assisted living is going to be truly the senior just needs a little bit of assistance with their activities of daily living. Maybe they need help getting dressed in the morning, or maybe they need help with their medications. They can't really keep track, or they have a lot. That's kind of your assisted, whereas memory care is more mental and emotional stimulation rather than physical. It could also be physical just as the illness progresses, but a lot of memory care is redirection, recueing, stimulation. So that's kind of the big difference there.
Well, very good. What questions should families ask when they're visiting?
I would ask questions that can help them understand what their day-to-day look like. You know, what do you do when you wake up? What do you eat? You know, what do you cook? And I would also kind of just take a peek in the pantry and take a peek in the refrigerator and see, are things expired or are things, you know, in good condition? I would also ask, are you going out? Are you seeing friends? If you know that they would typically go out and see certain people or certain family members, checking to see if they're still seeing those people, still doing activities that they once enjoyed. And if they're not, that could be a really big sign that maybe they are confused about whether or not they would still enjoy that, or maybe they can't remember that they once enjoyed that. So I would ask things along that line.
What's the best way for people to tour some of the different Home Plus environments or other communities out there?
If they're part of a local group that has other seniors, I would check with them first and see if they've already found resources. We've got several senior centers in the city. They can check in with them. A lot of times churches have that information. I know that we work with a couple churches to just supply information, so checking there as well. There's the Active Age paper that has a lot of places listed in it. There's really all sorts of resources out there. And then, you know, just calling and saying, hey, I'm not there yet. Don't know when I'll be there yet, but would really like to come and see and get some more information. That's kind of probably what I would do if it was my mom or dad.
Okay, call and set an appointment, do that research, and then call and set an appointment and just come take a look.
Exactly, yeah. And you know, it doesn't matter that you're not ready to do anything, just take a look. That's fine.
Thank you, Ronna, for having us out. Great information, we really appreciate that. And thank you for watching. If you have questions, please check in with us at empoweringseniors@kpts.org, and happy holidays.
This program is made possible by 46% of non-retirees believe they can't afford to retire. American Senior Benefits agents help retirees find solutions aiding your journey to retirement and financial security. More at wichita.americanseniorbenefits.com. Moving can be stressful. Whether your move is local or long distance, 2 Men in a Truck can help. More at 2men.com.
Are you a wartime veteran ages 73 to 85? Did you know there are new rules that may affect your pension? Don't lose out on benefits you deserve. Our team serves you because you served us. Contact Long-Term Care for Veterans today.